The kitchen doors of Le Bernardin Moderne burst open as a familiar figure strides through with unmistakable authority. Gordon Ramsay's piercing blue eyes scan the chaotic scene before him. Overturned pots scattered across the floor. A black woman in chef's whites sitting against the prep station with tears streaming down her face. And Restaurant Manager Trevor Ashford standing over her with obvious contempt. "Pack up your knives and get out," Ashford is saying, his voice dripping with disdain. "I don't care what fancy culinary school you went to. You clearly don't understand your place in this kitchen." The woman on the floor, her name tag reading Chef Isabella, looks up with a mixture of humiliation and defiance. "Trevor, I've been trying to tell you that there's been a misunderstanding." "The only misunderstanding," Ashford interrupts, "is thinking you could waltz in here and act like you own the place." That's when Gordon Ramsay's voice cuts through the kitchen like a blade. "What the hell is going on here?" Every head turns toward the celebrity chef as Ashford's confident expression falters. The manager, who had been so certain about putting the uppity chef in her place, suddenly looks uncertain. "Mr. Ramsay," Ashford stammers. "We were just dealing with a kitchen discipline issue." Ramsay's eyes shift to Isabella, and his expression transforms from confusion to recognition to barely controlled fury. "Isabella Williams, my mentor. The woman who taught me half of what I know about French cuisine." The revelation hits the kitchen like a thunderbolt. The chef Ashford had been humiliating isn't just any cook. She's Gordon Ramsay's former teacher and one of the most respected culinary masters in the world. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. 3 hours earlier, Chef Isabella Williams had arrived at Le Bernardin Moderne for what she believed would be a routine consultation. At 38, she was one of the most respected culinary professionals in the industry, having trained under Auguste Beaumont at the Culinary Institute of America before spending 5 years in France, perfecting her technique at Michelin-starred restaurants. Her reputation in the culinary world was legendary. Though she rarely sought publicity, Isabella had mentored dozens of successful chefs, including a young Gordon Ramsay during his formative years in London. Their relationship had remained close over the decades, with Ramsay often crediting her with shaping his understanding of French cuisine and kitchen leadership. The consultation at Le Bernardin Moderne had been arranged through a mutual contact, Food Network. Producer Lucas Thompson, who was developing a new show featuring established chefs working with struggling restaurants. The restaurant had been experiencing declining reviews, staff turnover and financial difficulties, making it an ideal candidate for the program. Isabella's expertise in operational efficiency and menu development had saved dozens of restaurants over her career. She approached each consultation with the same meticulous preparation that had earned her James Beard nominations and the respect of culinary professionals worldwide. That morning, she had reviewed Le Bernardin Moderne's financial records, online reviews, and staffing reports. The problems were typical of restaurants lacking strong leadership, inconsistent food quality, poor staff morale, and a disconnect between front-of-house and kitchen operations. She dressed professionally in her custom chef's whites, the jacket embroidered simply with Chef I. Williams, rather than the extensive credentials she could have displayed. Isabella believed in letting her work speak for itself, rather than relying on titles or accolades. The drive to downtown Seattle had been pleasant, with Isabella listening to a French-language podcast to maintain her fluency. She thought about her 12-year-old daughter Aria, who had recently expressed interest in cooking and might enjoy hearing about this consultation experience. Isabella's mother, Grace Williams, had raised her to approach every professional situation with dignity and preparation. As a retired educator, Grace had instilled in Isabella the importance of excellence, perseverance, and maintaining composure even when faced with ignorance or hostility. Arriving at Le Bernardin Moderne, Isabella was impressed by the restaurant's elegant decor and prime location. The establishment had the potential to be exceptional with proper leadership and operational improvements. She looked forward to working with the management team to identify solutions. What Isabella didn't know was that restaurant manager Trevor Ashford had not been informed about her consultation. The communication breakdown between corporate executive James Whitmore and the restaurant management would create a perfect storm of misunderstanding, prejudice, and professional disaster. As she entered through the employee entrance at 2 p.m., Isabella expected to meet with the management team for briefings before observing kitchen operations. Instead, she encountered a manager who saw a black woman in chef's whites and immediately made assumptions. Based on prejudice rather than professionalism, the consultation that should have been a routine, professional engagement was about to become a confrontation that would expose the restaurant's deeper problems with leadership, respect, and basic human decency. Restaurant manager Trevor Ashford was having the worst week of his career when he spotted an unfamiliar black woman in chef's whites entering his kitchen through the employee entrance. 3 key staff members had quit, the health inspector had issued violations, and online reviews were consistently critical of service quality. In Ashford's mind, the kitchen was his domain, and he maintained strict control over who belonged there. Seeing Isabella, whom he didn't recognize and hadn't been told to expect, triggered his authoritarian instincts and unconscious racial biases. "Excuse me?" Ashford called out, approaching Isabella with obvious suspicion. "I don't believe you're scheduled to work today. In fact, I don't recognize you at all." Isabella looked up from her review of the prep station layout, confused by the hostile tone. "Good afternoon. I'm Chef Isabella Williams. I'm here for the operational consultation that was arranged through your corporate office." Ashford's expression hardened with skepticism. "Consultation? I wasn't notified of any consultation. And you're telling me corporate sent you?" The pause before "you" carried unmistakable implications that had nothing to do with Isabella's qualifications and everything to do with her race. She recognized the tone immediately. The same dismissive attitude she had encountered early in her career before her reputation made such treatment impossible. "Yes, I was contacted by James Whitmore's office to assess operational efficiency and menu development," Isabella replied professionally, reaching for her business cards. "Perhaps there was a communication issue with scheduling." Ashford glanced at the business card dismissively. "Chef Isabella Williams," he read with obvious sarcasm. "And what exactly makes you qualified to consult on our operations?" The question was loaded with prejudice, implying that Isabella's credentials were somehow questionable. In 15 years of consulting, she had never been asked to justify her expertise so rudely or publicly. "I have 20 years of experience in fine dining, including 5 years training in France and extensive work with restaurant operational improvement," Isabella answered calmly. Though she could feel other kitchen staff beginning to notice the confrontation, assistant manager Brittany Caldwell approached, drawn by the tension in Ashford's voice. "Trevor, what's going on here?" "This person claims to be some kind of consultant sent by corporate," Ashford explained, speaking about Isabella as if she weren't present. "Says she's here to tell us how to run our kitchen." Caldwell studied Isabella with the same skeptical expression. "I don't see any consultation on the schedule. Are you sure you're at the right restaurant?" The suggestion that Isabella was simply confused or at the wrong location was particularly insulting, given her professional reputation and meticulous preparation. She maintained her composure while internally calculating how to handle the escalating situation. "I can call James Whitmore's office to confirm the arrangement," Isabella offered reasonably. "There seems to be a scheduling miscommunication." "Or," Ashford interrupted, "you're trying to talk your way into our kitchen for reasons we don't need to guess about. This is a high-end establishment, not a place where people can just wander in and pretend to be consultants." The accusation was outrageous and clearly discriminatory. Sous-chef Marco Delacroix, overhearing the conversation from his station, looked uncomfortable with his manager's aggressive tone and obvious racial profiling. "Sir, I have documentation of my consultation agreement and can provide references from dozens of successful restaurant improvements," Isabella said firmly. "Her professional patience wearing thin. References," Ashford scoffed. "Let me guess, from places that needed improvement because they made the same mistake we're about to avoid." The insult was clear and public, designed to humiliate Isabella in front of the kitchen staff. What Ashford didn't realize was that his discrimination was about to trigger consequences that would destroy his career and transform the restaurant industry's understanding of respect and professionalism. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Trevor Ashford's hostility toward Isabella escalated rapidly as he realized other kitchen staff members were witnessing the confrontation. His need to assert dominance in his own kitchen overrode any possibility of professional courtesy or rational assessment of the situation. "Look, lady," Ashford said loudly, ensuring his voice carried throughout the kitchen, "I don't know what kind of scam you're running, but it's not going to work here. High-end restaurants don't need consultants who show up unannounced, claiming to have expertise they clearly don't possess." The accusation of running a scam was particularly offensive to Isabella, who had spent 2 decades building an impeccable reputation in the culinary industry. She could feel her professional composure being tested in ways it hadn't been since her early career. "Mr. Ashford, I understand there's been a communication breakdown," Isabella replied evenly, "but your accusations are inappropriate and unprofessional. I'm here at the request of your corporate office to help improve operations." Ashford laughed harshly, a sound that carried throughout the now silent kitchen. "Help improve operations? You want to know what would improve operations? Not having random people walk into my kitchen claiming to be consultants." Assistant Manager Caldwell, emboldened by her supervisor's aggression, joined the public humiliation. "Brittany, have you ever heard of this so-called consultant? Because I certainly haven't seen her name in any industry publications." The comment revealed their ignorance of Isabella's extensive media coverage and professional recognition, but also demonstrated how assumptions about race could blind people to obvious credentials and achievements. Line cook Jenny Hoffman, who had been quietly observing from her prep station, recognized something familiar about Isabella but couldn't immediately place where she had seen her. The chef's professional bearing and obvious expertise seemed at odds with the management's dismissive treatment. "Ma'am, perhaps you should contact whoever sent you here and explain that there's been a mistake," Caldwell suggested with false kindness. "I'm sure they can find you work somewhere more appropriate to your background." The coded language was unmistakable, more appropriate to your background, clearly referred to race rather than professional qualifications. Isabella realized she was facing systematic discrimination that went beyond simple miscommunication. "I am exactly where I'm supposed to be," Isabella said firmly, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to command. "And I will not be dismissed based on your assumptions about my background or capabilities." This resistance seemed to infuriate Ashford further. "Your attitude is exactly the problem, walking into someone else's kitchen and acting like you own the place. Well, let me tell you something. I run this kitchen, and I decide who belongs here." Prep cook Antonio Vega, who had immigrated from Mexico and understood discrimination intimately, watched the confrontation with growing discomfort. He recognized the racial undertones in the management's treatment of Isabella and felt complicit in his silence. "Sir, if you would simply contact James Whitmore's office," Isabella began. "I don't need to contact anyone," Ashford interrupted angrily. "What I need is for you to understand your place and leave my kitchen immediately." The phrase, "know your place," hung in the air like a loaded weapon, carrying centuries of racial oppression and discriminatory intent. Isabella felt the full weight of its implications while maintaining her professional dignity. "My place," Isabella replied quietly but firmly, "is wherever my expertise and experience are needed. And based on what I've observed in the last 20 minutes, this restaurant desperately needs both." Her calm professionalism in the face of obvious discrimination only seemed to enrage Ashford further, setting the stage for an escalation that would soon bring the confrontation to Gordon Ramsay's attention. While Isabella endured public humiliation in the Bernardin Moderne kitchen, Gordon Ramsay was completing a taping session at Hell's Kitchen Studios just 15 miles away. The celebrity chef was in Seattle, filming a special episode focusing on Pacific Northwest cuisine, and had planned to visit several local restaurants as part of his research. Ramsay's relationship with Isabella stretched back 15 years to his early days establishing his culinary empire. She had been a consulting chef at one of his London restaurants, helping him refine his French technique and develop the leadership style that would make him internationally famous. "Isabella taught me that being tough in the kitchen doesn't mean being cruel," Ramsay often told culinary students. "She showed me how to demand excellence while maintaining respect for every member of the team." Their professional relationship had evolved into deep mutual respect and personal friendship. Isabella had been a guest chef on several of Ramsay's television programs, though she preferred working behind the scenes to seeking celebrity status. Food Network producer Lucas Thompson, who had arranged Isabella's consultation, was monitoring social media when he noticed troubling posts from Le Bernardin Moderne employees. Someone had posted a video of kitchen staff arguing, though the audio was unclear. "Something's wrong at the Seattle location," Thompson told his assistant. "I'm seeing social media activity that suggests our consultant isn't being received well." Meanwhile, social media influencer Trinity Davis, who had been dining at Le Bernardin Moderne, overheard raised voices from the kitchen and began discreetly recording audio on her phone. As someone with 200,000 followers focused on restaurant industry drama, she recognized potential viral content. The conversation she captured included clear discrimination and would soon create a social media firestorm that reached Ramsay's attention within hours. Regular customer Patricia Chen, a successful businesswoman who dined at Le Bernardin Moderne weekly, noticed the unusual tension among staff members and complained to the hostess about unprofessional behavior affecting the dining experience. "There's obviously some kind of management crisis happening in the kitchen," Chen told her dining companion. "The service has been terrible, and you can hear arguing from back there." Her complaint would be documented in the restaurant's incident reports, creating a paper trail that corporate investigators would later use to reconstruct the timeline of events. Back at Hell's Kitchen Studios, Ramsay received a text message from Isabella that simply read, "Consultation at Le Bernardin Moderne not going as planned. May need to discuss operational issues with corporate." The understated message was typical of Isabella's professional restraint, but Ramsay recognized the subtext. In all their years of collaboration, she had never sent a message suggesting consultation difficulties. "Something's not right," Ramsay told his production assistant. "Cancel my afternoon appointments. I need to make a visit to Le Bernardin Moderne," restaurant owner Victoria Sterling, who had invested heavily in Le Bernardin Moderne, was reviewing financial reports when she received a call from her corporate executive about social media posts suggesting staff problems at the Seattle location. "James, what exactly is happening at the restaurant? I'm seeing posts about kitchen arguments and management issues," Sterling demanded. Corporate executive Whitmore realized his failure to properly communicate Isabella's consultation to the restaurant management had created a crisis that could destroy the establishment's reputation and his own career. The convergence of social media documentation, customer complaints, and Gordon Ramsay's growing concern was creating a perfect storm that would soon expose the discrimination Isabella was facing and trigger consequences that would reshape the restaurant industry's approach to diversity and professional respect. Gordon Ramsay's decision to visit Le Bernardin Moderne was driven by instincts honed through decades in the restaurant industry. Isabella's understated message had contained subtle warning signs that suggested serious problems, and Ramsay knew her well enough to read between the lines. During the 20-minute drive from Hell's Kitchen studios, Ramsay called Food Network producer Thompson to get additional context about the consultation arrangement. "Lucas, what exactly was Isabella supposed to be doing at Le Bernardin Moderne?" Ramsay asked directly. "Full operational assessment," Thompson replied. "The restaurant's been struggling, and corporate requested her specifically. She's supposed to evaluate everything from menu development to staff management." This information confirmed Ramsay's suspicions that something had gone seriously wrong with what should have been a routine professional engagement. Isabella's expertise was legendary in the industry, making any negative reception highly unusual and potentially problematic. Social media influencer Trinity Davis had posted her audio recording of the kitchen confrontation, and it was already gaining traction on restaurant industry social media networks. The hashtag #Don'tLeBernardin discrimination began trending as culinary professionals recognized Isabella's voice and expressed outrage at her treatment. "This is Isabella Williams being discriminated against at Le Bernardin Moderne," Davis posted. One of the most respected chefs in the industry being told to know her place by some ignorant manager. The post had been shared over 500 times within the first hour, reaching culinary professionals who immediately recognized the implications of discriminating against someone of Isabella's stature and reputation. Restaurant consultant Elena Rodriguez, who had worked with Isabella on multiple projects, saw the social media posts and immediately called corporate executive Whitmore. "James, do you realize what's happening at your Seattle location?" Rodriguez demanded. "Isabella Williams is being publicly humiliated by your management team. This is going to destroy the restaurant's reputation." Whitmore, finally understanding the magnitude of his communication failure, began making frantic calls to Restaurant Manager Ashford. But Ashford was so focused on his confrontation with Isabella that he was ignoring calls from corporate headquarters. Employment attorney Sarah Martinez, who specialized in workplace discrimination cases, was monitoring the social media situation and recognized the potential for significant legal action against the restaurant. "This is textbook workplace discrimination," Martinez told her assistant. "If they're treating a consultant this way based on race, imagine how they treat their actual employees." Meanwhile, Auguste Beaumont, Isabella's former mentor and professor at the Culinary Institute of America, saw the social media posts and immediately contacted Gordon Ramsay. "Gordon, they're discriminating against Isabella at some restaurant in Seattle," Beaumont said angrily. "The audio recording makes it clear this is racial harassment, not professional disagreement." This call galvanized Ramsay's response. Beaumont had trained both him and Isabella, creating a professional family bond that made attacks on Isabella personal affronts to Ramsay as well. "I'm 5 minutes away from the restaurant," Ramsay replied. "This is going to be handled properly." Health Inspector Dr. Michael Torres, who had cited Le Bernardin Moderne for violations earlier that week, saw the social media controversy and realized the restaurant's problems extended far beyond food safety into fundamental management and leadership failures. The convergence of social media exposure, industry outrage, and Gordon Ramsay's impending arrival was creating a response that would transform a local discrimination incident into an industry-wide reckoning with prejudice and professional respect. Gordon Ramsay's entrance into Le Bernardin Moderne's kitchen created an immediate shift in atmosphere that every staff member could feel. His reputation preceded him, and even manager Trevor Ashford understood he was now dealing with one of the most powerful figures in the culinary world. Mr. Ramsay, Ashford attempted to recover. We had no idea you were coming. If you're here about the consultation situation, I can explain. Explain what? Ramsay interrupted, his famous temper beginning to surface. Explain how you're treating Isabella Williams, one of the most respected chefs in the industry, like she doesn't belong in your kitchen. The use of Isabella's full name, with obvious respect and familiarity, sent shockwaves through the kitchen staff. Sous-chef Marco Delacroix suddenly recognized her from culinary magazines and television appearances. Realizing he had witnessed the discrimination of a legendary figure, "Sir, we didn't realize," Assistant Manager Caldwell began. "Didn't realize what?" Ramsay's voice rose to the commanding tone that had made him famous. "Didn't realize that Isabella Williams trained at Le Bernardin in Paris, that she's consulted for Michelin-starred restaurants across 3 continents, that she's the woman who taught me how to properly prepare bouillabaisse." Each revelation hit the management team like physical blows. They had been dismissing someone whose credentials far exceeded their own, whose reputation in the culinary world was essentially unassailable. Isabella, still sitting where she had been forced to the floor, looked up at Ramsay with gratitude mixed with exhaustion. The public humiliation had taken an emotional toll that went beyond professional embarrassment. "Isabella," Ramsay said, his voice softening as he knelt beside her. "Are you hurt? Do you need medical attention?" "I'm fine, Gordon," she replied quietly, though tears were still visible on her cheeks. "Just disappointed that this is still how some people react to seeing a black woman in a professional kitchen." Ramsay helped her to her feet before turning back to the management team with barely controlled fury. "Let me explain something to all of you. Isabella Williams has forgotten more about fine dining than you'll ever learn. She's consulted for restaurants that you couldn't even get reservations at. Line cook Jenny Hoffman suddenly remembered where she had seen Isabella before, on the cover of Food and Wine magazine just 6 months earlier, featured in an article about the most influential chefs transforming American cuisine. Furthermore," Ramsay continued, his voice carrying throughout the now silent kitchen, "she's here because your corporate office specifically requested her expertise to save this failing restaurant. And instead of showing her the respect she's earned through decades of excellence, you've subjected her to discrimination that would be illegal if she were your employee." The legal implications of Ramsay's statement weren't lost on anyone present. Employment attorney Martinez, monitoring social media updates, was already preparing preliminary legal documents for potential discrimination lawsuits. Prep cook Antonio Vega, who had remained silent during Isabella's harassment, found his voice. "Chef Williams, I want to apologize. I knew what was happening was wrong, but I was afraid to speak up." His admission broke the silence that had protected the discrimination, encouraging other kitchen staff to acknowledge their complicity in allowing the harassment to continue. "The question now," Ramsay said, looking directly at Ashford, "is what you're going to do to make this right. Because this incident is already viral on social media, and the entire culinary industry is watching how you handle the aftermath." The power dynamic in the kitchen had completely reversed. The management team that had felt so confident in dismissing Isabella now faced the prospect of career destruction at the hands of one of the most influential figures in their industry. Within 24 hours of Gordon Ramsay's intervention, Le Bernardin Moderne became the center of a culinary industry, reckoning that exposed widespread discrimination and sparked comprehensive reforms in restaurant management practices nationwide. Restaurant Manager Trevor Ashford was terminated immediately after corporate executive James Whitmore arrived to assess the situation. The recorded evidence of his discriminatory conduct, combined with witness testimony from multiple staff members, created an irrefutable case for dismissal with cause. Mr. Ashford's behavior toward Chef Williams was inexcusable and reflects fundamental failures in leadership and professional judgment. Whitmore announced during an emergency staff meeting, "This company has zero tolerance for discrimination in any Form, Assistant Manager Brittany. Caldwell also faced immediate termination after investigation. Revealed she had participated in the harassment and had a history of similar behavior toward minority staff, members that had been previously overlooked by management. The financial consequences for the restaurant were immediate and severe. Food Network cancelled their planned programming featuring Le Bernardin Moderne, costing the establishment millions in promotional value and marketing exposure. Restaurant owner Victoria Sterling implemented comprehensive sensitivity training for all staff members and brought in external consultants to review hiring practices, management protocols, and workplace culture. Throughout her restaurant empire, what happened to Chef Williams revealed systematic problems in our organization that we are committed to addressing through fundamental changes in how we operate. Sterling announced during a press conference attended by national media. The social media firestorm had attracted attention from major news outlets, civil rights organizations, and industry publications. Isabella's treatment became a symbol of discrimination that many culinary professionals had experienced but rarely discussed. Publicly. Employment attorney Sarah Martinez filed a comprehensive lawsuit against the restaurant on behalf of Isabella and other employees who had experienced discrimination. The suit sought not only financial damages but structural changes in restaurant operations and management practices. This case represents a pattern of discriminatory behavior that extends far beyond one incident, Martinez explained to reporters. Our investigation has uncovered systematic bias in hiring, promotion, and treatment of minority employees throughout the restaurant industry. Gordon Ramsay used his platform to highlight the broader implications of Isabella's experience, appearing on multiple television programs to discuss discrimination in professional kitchens and the importance of recognizing expertise regardless of a chef's race or gender. Isabella Williams is one of the most talented chefs I've ever worked with, Ramsay told CNN. The fact that she was treated with such disrespect reveals problems that go far beyond one restaurant or one manager. The incident sparked industry-wide conversations about diversity, inclusion, and respect in professional kitchens. Major restaurant chains implemented new training programs, revised hiring practices, and created formal complaint procedures for addressing discrimination. Culinary schools began incorporating diversity and inclusion curricula into their programs, using Isabella's experience as a case study in professional behavior and workplace respect. Health Inspector Dr. Torres expanded his investigation to include workplace culture and management practices, finding that restaurants with discriminatory cultures often had higher rates of food safety violations and employee turnover. The James Beard Foundation created new awards recognizing restaurants that demonstrated exceptional commitment to diversity and inclusion, partially in response to the visibility Isabella's case had brought to industry discrimination. Most significantly, the incident led to federal legislation strengthening protections against workplace discrimination in the restaurant industry, with specific provisions addressing the unique challenges faced by minority culinary professionals. Isabella's experience had transformed from personal humiliation into a catalyst for systematic change that would protect countless other culinary professionals from similar discrimination. 6 months after the Le Bernardin Moderne incident, Chef Isabella Williams stood before a packed auditorium at the Culinary Institute of America, delivering the keynote address for the school's annual Diversity in Culinary Arts Symposium. Her transformation from discrimination victim to industry advocate had inspired comprehensive changes in culinary education and professional development. That day in Seattle, I was reminded that talent and experience aren't always enough, Isabella told the audience of culinary students, established chefs, and industry leaders. Sometimes you need allies who will speak up when systems fail, and institutions willing to acknowledge that discrimination has no place in professional kitchens. The legal settlement from her discrimination case had provided Isabella with resources to establish The Williams Foundation for Culinary Equity, an organization dedicated to supporting minority chefs and addressing systematic barriers in the restaurant industry. Trevor Ashford, whose termination and industry blacklisting had ended his restaurant career, had been required to complete extensive diversity training as part of the legal settlement. His public apology, while legally mandated, had sparked conversations about unconscious bias and professional redemption. I allowed my prejudices to blind me to Chef Williams' obvious expertise and professionalism, Ashford admitted during a televised interview. My actions were inexcusable, and I'm committed to using this experience to educate others about the destructive nature of workplace discrimination. Assistant manager Brittany Caldwell faced similar consequences, but her lack of cooperation with investigators and continued denial of wrongdoing resulted in her permanent exclusion from restaurant management positions. Le Bernardin Moderne had undergone complete transformation under new management, implementing diversity initiatives that made it a model for inclusive restaurant operations. The establishment now hosted monthly events featuring minority chefs and donated a percentage of profits to culinary diversity programs. Chef Williams' experience forced us to confront uncomfortable truths about our industry, explained new general manager Elena Rodriguez, who had been hired specifically for her expertise in diversity and inclusion. We're now committed to being part of the solution rather than perpetuating problems. Gordon Ramsay had used his influence to create mentorship programs connecting established chefs with minority culinary professionals, ensuring that talent would be recognized and nurtured regardless of background or appearance. Isabella taught me that being a mentor means more than sharing cooking techniques. Ramsay reflected during a Food Network special. It means using your platform to protect and promote those who might not otherwise get opportunities to demonstrate their abilities. Social media influencer Trinity Davis, whose initial recording had sparked the viral response, evolved her platform to focus on promoting diversity in the restaurant industry. Her documentation of the incident had demonstrated the power of social media to create accountability in professional settings. Food Network producer Lucas Thompson developed new programming specifically highlighting minority chefs and addressing discrimination in culinary environments. The network's commitment to diverse representation had increased significantly following the visibility of Isabella's case. The incident had broader implications for customer behavior as well. Diners became more aware of restaurant workplace culture and began supporting establishments that demonstrated commitment to diversity and inclusion. Auguste Beaumont, Isabella's former mentor, incorporated her experience into his curriculum at the Culinary Institute, ensuring that future chefs would understand both the technical and social aspects of professional kitchen leadership. Isabella's strength in facing discrimination with dignity while demanding accountability has inspired a generation of culinary professionals, Beaumont explained to his students. She demonstrated that excellence and advocacy aren't mutually exclusive, they're complementary. The Williams Foundation had already provided scholarships to over 100 minority culinary students and had established partnerships with restaurants committed to inclusive hiring and promotion practices. Isabella's daughter, Aria, now 13 and increasingly interested in cooking, had witnessed her mother's transformation from victim to advocate. The experience had taught her valuable lessons about standing up to injustice while maintaining personal dignity. Mum showed me that when bad things happen, you can choose to use them to help other people, Aria told her school newspaper. She didn't just get mad, she got active and made things better for everybody. 2 years after the discrimination incident that changed the restaurant industry, Le Bernardin Moderne reopened under new ownership as Isabella's Table, a fine dining establishment dedicated to showcasing diverse culinary traditions and supporting minority chefs. The restaurant that had once symbolized workplace discrimination had become a beacon of inclusion and professional excellence. Chef Isabella Williams, now serving as the restaurant's consulting chef and culinary director, reflected on the journey that had transformed personal humiliation into industry-wide progress. Her presence in the kitchen, where she had once been told to know her place, represented a complete reversal of power dynamics and cultural values. This kitchen now represents everything I believe restaurants should be, Isabella explained during the reopening ceremony. A place where talent is recognized, diversity is celebrated, and everyone is treated with the respect they deserve. Gordon Ramsay, serving as guest chef for the reopening, used his keynote address to highlight the broader changes that Isabella's experience had catalyzed throughout the culinary industry. Isabella's courage in facing discrimination with dignity and her determination to use that experience to help others has made every restaurant in America a better workplace, Ramsay told the assembled crowd of industry leaders, media representatives, and culinary students. The Williams Foundation had grown into a national organization providing scholarships, mentorship, and legal support for minority culinary professionals. The foundation's work had directly contributed to a 40% increase in minority enrollment at culinary schools nationwide. Restaurant owner Victoria Sterling, who had transformed her entire company culture following the incident, now served on the foundation's board of directors. Her restaurant empire had become known for innovative diversity initiatives and industry-leading workplace equality measures. Isabella's experience forced our entire industry to examine practices we had taken for granted, Sterling admitted during her board remarks. The changes we've implemented haven't just made us more ethical. They've made us more successful by utilizing talent we were previously overlooking. The legal precedents established by employment attorney Martinez's successful lawsuit had strengthened protections for all restaurant workers and created new standards for addressing workplace discrimination in service industries. The corporate executive James Whitmore, whose communication failure had initially enabled the discrimination, had implemented comprehensive management training programs that were now used throughout the hospitality industry. His acknowledgement of responsibility and commitment to prevention had helped establish new professional standards at social media influencer. Trinity Davis had evolved her platform into a respected voice for industry accountability, with over 1 million followers who looked to her for updates on diversity initiatives and workplace equality progress in restaurants nationwide. The Culinary Institute of America had established the Isabella Williams Center for Professional Ethics, which provided training on diversity, inclusion, and respectful workplace behavior for current students and established professionals seeking continuing education. Auguste Beaumont, now in his final year before retirement, used Isabella's story as the cornerstone of his legacy curriculum, ensuring that future generations of chefs would understand their responsibilities to create inclusive, respectful professional environments. Health Inspector Dr. Torres had developed new evaluation criteria that assessed workplace culture alongside food safety, recognizing the connection between respectful management and overall operational excellence. Most significantly, the incident had sparked federal legislation creating stronger protections against workplace discrimination in the service industry, with specific provisions addressing the unique challenges faced by minority professionals in restaurant environments. As the evening celebration concluded, Isabella stood with her daughter Aria, now 15, and planning to attend culinary school herself, looking out over a dining room filled with people from all backgrounds enjoying exceptional cuisine prepared by a diverse kitchen staff. "You know what I'm most proud of?" Isabella asked her daughter. "That you stood up for yourself?" Aria suggested. "That too," Isabella smiled. "But mostly that we used a terrible experience to make things better for everyone who comes after us. That restaurant manager thought he was putting me in my place. Instead, he helped me find my purpose." The discrimination that had once seemed like a career-ending humiliation had become the catalyst for transformative change that touched every aspect of the restaurant industry. Isabella's place, as it turned out, was wherever her expertise, leadership, and advocacy were needed, which, as the industry had learned, was everywhere. The restaurant where she had once been told to know her place now bore her name and represented everything she had worked to achieve: excellence, inclusivity, and respect for all culinary professionals regardless of their background. The transformation was complete, but the work of creating lasting change would continue for years to come. As Isabella locked the doors of Isabella's table that night, she carried with her the satisfaction of knowing that her moment of humiliation had become a movement for justice that would protect countless others from experiencing the discrimination she had faced. The kitchen that had once rejected her now served as a symbol of how individuals could create systematic change when they refused to accept injustice as inevitable. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.